Two seemingly identical murders occur on opposite ends of the country at the same time. Surprisingly, Mulder's first thought is aliens. What our agents find instead is a complex story involving little girls, the government, and cloning.
This is not happening.
Hello and welcome to This Is Not Happening, another X-Files podcast.
Death by hypovolemia, 75% blood loss. That's over 4 liters of blood.
Could say the man was running on empty.
The man's daughter, 8 years old, was away from his side for no more than 10 minutes. She doesn't remember anything. There was no trace evidence to be found at the crime scene.
And any evidence would have been washed away by yesterday's rain.
Oh, there were 2 small puncture wounds in the jugular.
Are you at all familiar with the phenomenon of cattle mutilations? Since 1967, over 34 states have reported unsolved cases of cattle mutilation. The trace evidence is remarkably similar. Incision marks of surgical precision. The area around the mouth, and often the sexual organs, has been removed. There's a substantial degree of blood loss without a trace of blood at the scene.
How can that be?
Exsanguination. If you were to stick a needle in the jugular of any living creature, the heart itself would act as a pump. These animals have had their jugulars punctured in the same way as the man from Greenwich, Connecticut. Only this is the first time I've ever seen it on a human being.
But there was no sign of a struggle. I mean, how can a man just sit through a bloodletting?
The ME found traces of digitalis. That's a South American plant that can be used as a paralytic drug.
Wait a minute. These X-Files indicate this is a UFO-related phenomena. Often there are sightings in the sky near the incident, surface burns.
Witnesses often report time loss. We've seen this in abduction cases. That might explain why the girl can't remember anything.
Mulder, why would alien beings travel light years to Earth in order to play doctor on cattle?
For the same reason, we cut up frogs and monkeys. Besides, they seem to have stepped up their interest.
Hello everyone and welcome to the show today. Today we are covering Eve.
This evening.
Starting real quick with the jokes.
Yeah, I have it in my notes to make a pun right off the bat.
So yeah, this one is a little bit different. It's a monster of the week, but also kind of, it feels like it has a toe in mythology. Just, did you get a vibe of that at all, or am I crazy?
No, I'll give it to you because Deep Throat has an appearance.
True.
And anytime he comes in,
Right.
I think mythology. So that's legit.
I'm not talking like deep mythology. No.
Oh, no. It's not a mythology episode for sure, but
No.
yeah.
Pretty fun. I like this episode. It's better than I remembered it. It was never one of my top go-tos at all as a young person, but yeah, it was a good time.
Yeah, it's got a lot of good stuff in it and some moments that we rarely see, which you'll be happy to know I'll point out.
Oh.
But I liked it a lot. And I think for me, it's the standout performance of Harriet Harris as the adult Eve.
Absolutely.
Just the first time we see her in the asylum is just so spooky. It's
she's
really
good.
Yeah.
Or BB from Frasier.
Yeah, exactly.
BB plays that.
Powerhouse, to be sure.
Yeah. So, diving right in, we are taken to Greenwich, Connecticut. That's how I'm going to pronounce it because I think that's correct.
It is.
It's outside neighborhood. We have a man and wife jogging. They see a little girl standing at the end of her driveway. She looks scared. She's clutching a stuffed bunny. They know who she is, so they approach her and ask her what's going on. They ask her where her dad is, and she says Daddy needed time to himself, which usually means something else from what we're going to find here. But so they
Daddy went
they
into a
go back
smelly
to
room.
investigate. The husband goes back to investigate, and he comes upon a man sitting on the swing set, not facing him, and he does the typical TV show thing where they grab the shoulder and, hey, what are you doing, buddy? And the guy's dead.
Pretty quick roll to credits, too. Some of their opening scenes are like, a couple
It's
minutes
pretty
long,
quick.
But this one's like, cue dead body.
I like it. It's good. But what the hell was the makeup department thinking? Like, they gave him clown face. They did not.
They gave him gray face.
They
for
did not
sure.
whiteify his neck at all.
I feel like this. Okay, now not an expert in exsanguination.
I would imagine the rest of your body turns white too.
Well, I don't know, and also there is the digitalis, whatever that they poisoned him with. Maybe they did their research, and that's what happens, Mike, when you get poisoned with
They get
digitalis
clown
and then
face.
your blood drained. I don't know how you do that research in a legal way, but maybe they did it, and they were like, to all the haters out there who were like, I don't know why the rest of your body wouldn't be gray. They're like, look it up. You turn gray in the face.
I'll give you it. Whatever makes that scene better. Because that is like the oversight of the series at this point.
Yeah, it's pretty glaring, actually, and I'm glad it doesn't linger. But I will say that this is their first little bait and switch for a vampire episode, because they have a couple before we get to 3.
Right.
The next one being Blood, which you'd think by the title would be like, oh, it's going to be a vampire episode.
Well, and you'd think
nope.
that if it was like a true vampire movie or TV show, that they would have not washed it away within the first 10 seconds after the
Yeah, exactly. I mean, my problem with it, it's funny, I didn't even look at the makeup and go, come on, guys. And that's something that I would do. So I think that is eclipsed by my problem with the method. I don't think we'll be spoiling it for anyone to say that the girls are responsible for the murders. There's probably an easier, more explainable way to get away with this crime than an exsanguination. Like a little bit of suicide in the garage with a car that's running, or head in the oven. I don't know. Choose your method, but he was exsanguinated, that's just designed to make these kids look creepy and make everyone's hackles go up, as opposed to, really want to, get out from your parents' grasp and get together. I don't know. There's a master plan I'm not seeing.
It is confusing, but we can get into that as we go through the episode for sure. So after the credits, we are treated to Scully reading the case file. 75% blood loss, 4 liters of blood. You could say the man was running on empty. Mulder with his
that was
dry
a
humor.
thin joke.
And Scully posits the question, why would aliens travel so far just to play doctor?
That is my favorite line in this episode.
Mulder does say the same reason we cut up frogs and monkeys. That is a pretty good comeback, I guess.
I would actually go on to say that this is my, Your Honor, I'd like to introduce my first point of evidence that this is an interesting little aside from what we're used to. Mulder's superpower is usually spot on. It's usually him describing what the plot is going to be. And so this is the beginning of a nice bait and switch where he goes, oh, well, it's clearly cattle mutilations. We should go and investigate this because it's an X-file. But it turns out to be something different. And I'll talk about that moment later.
Yeah. It is something very different. This one includes creepy kids.
I like these kids better than the balloon kids.
Yeah. This is our springboard into the episode. So from here, they're talking about the puncture wounds and the fact that it must be aliens because of them. So from here, we go to Fairfield, where Mulder and Scully are on the case. Tina has been placed in a home, and they are waiting to find a family for her throughout this whole problem, this whole mess. Scully is asking the social worker pretty routine questions while she's bringing them to her room. The little girl is not talkative much at all once they're there. She looks a little sad, but all the answers to Scully's questions are met with no, right? She's not very engaged in the conversation, but then Mulder begins to ask her if she can talk about, or if he can talk about her dad and what happened. And she begins to open up a little bit. Do you remember any strange sounds or lights? And she recalls red lightning and that she can't remember much because it all went dark. The men from the clouds were after my dad. So she's already saying some things that are very ominous. And then she lays down the big one. They wanted to exsanguinate him. So that's a pretty big word for someone this young. But
I liked this scene a lot, especially in especially in a rewatch, and also as the episode progresses, because I don't know what to think about it. Like whether she's just making it up because, she kind of wants to make the event bigger than it is. Or my personal favorite is that her big brain, being that she's this crazy clone, she is able to perceive Mulder's, like the intent of his questions, and is able to sort of give him what he thinks he wants to sort of invest him in it.
I think she's playing to him, but that is one hell of a intuit.
Yeah, well, hugely, right? But I mean, if Eve 6 has her 260 IQ, and suggesting that she's crazy intelligent, then I'm willing to let this one go as to, there is a master plan. She is 10 steps ahead, and all of this is to connect the girls who are 3,000 miles apart. Anyway, I dig it. I thought it was a neat scene.
It is very well done, and it's very creepy.
Yeah.
When she lays out the exsanguinate, it's like, whoa. Oh. I mean, Mulder's locked in at this point.
Yeah.
Scully interrupts at this point. There's been another one. And then we get a cut to San Francisco, of all places.
Guys, be on the lookout for any strange blood drain
If you
corpses.
hear anything about some guy with white face, let me know.
Here's what just happened here. Yeah, that's a bit of an ask. I think Danny's involved. I think
Danny is definitely
he's got
involved.
His ear to the ground.
Danny, we're out on a case.
Yeah.
Exsanguination, you know the drill.
That is a marvelous plot point to tear this episode apart with. Is like, how on earth do they connect the dots? I mean, again, there's so much hanging on this episode that if you start pulling on a thread too much, it's all going to unravel. This is a small one, but it's an important one.
So Mulder and Scully arrive at the Reardon residence in San Francisco. They're in the backyard, and we see the same setup, right? We see a swing set. We don't need to see the body. We know what happened. Scully, I think, comes out with hypovolemia. Is that what the term was?
Hypovolemia.
There's the same trace evidence, and she concludes that it happened the same day, 3 hours earlier, and then Mulder corrects her that they're in Pacific Standard Time now. So it would be at the exact same time these two people were exsanguinated. That's disturbing.
Yeah.
Very cool. So Scully's immediate determination is that they have two serial killers working in tandem. And Mulder's pretty quick to dismiss that. He says they rarely work together, and when they do, they're actually together. So as an all-star profiler, we believe immediately Mulder knows what he's talking about here.
Yep, he tells us how it is.
During the scene, we get a quick cut to the social services. Tina's having a hard time sleeping. There's noises outside of her room. She goes towards the door and then slides a chair under the handle to prevent someone from getting in. She hides under the bed, and then we see someone break in, and Tina is taken in a flash of lightning.
Point of order, Your Honor. I question the scene because weren't they all in contact? Like they share kind of a psychic link, but is it just between the young Eves? Are the older Eves?
I think it's just the young ones.
So
because later on in the episode, the older ones seem a little bit perplexed and surprised by their behavior. So I don't count them as being in tune with the two young ones here.
Okay. I will also say that perhaps this is Eve 7, is it not? So maybe, and she's not all together. She's a little bit frazzled. So maybe she's not thinking clearly, but there could have been a better plan here rather than snatch and grab.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I think for the 260 IQ people, they could have had something a bit more nuanced rather than just break down the door and take the kid in the night. But that's the breaks. That's the way the plot goes.
Wet bunny. Which, by the way, here's the other question. It looks like there is an outside door to Tina's room. So why wouldn't she just come in there?
Yeah.
Instead of traversing the building and risk getting caught.
I don't know. Yeah. It's a strange MO. at play here, but he's going to do it again.
So back to Mulder and Scully, they arrive at Cindy Reardon's house, the new girl whose father has just been exsanguinated.
Right.
They have received word of Tina's kidnapping. They knock on the door to the house, and sure enough, a girl who looks exactly like Tina opens the door.
It's a marvelous moment, actually. They're like, Tina? No. What's your name? Cindy Reardon. It's a little bit on the nose, but I do like it, you know?
Yeah. It's
Totally
a good twist.
unexpected.
We weren't expecting it at all.
So a little note on the twins casting, because I think it's interesting. Apparently, they did start casting for twins in Los Angeles, and they weren't finding the ones I think maybe they did have a line on somebody they wanted, but for whatever reason, they ended up casting in BC. I guess there's something about local labor laws that limits the number of hours that child actors can work. So there was going to be this issue of bringing them up from LA and permits and all the rest. So they had a smaller pool of actors to choose from because guess what? You know, twin girls of a certain age don't grow on trees that are ready for the camera. And they had an idea that maybe we don't need to use twins. I guess maybe it's getting really hard to find them. And they could do it with split screens and a photo double. But then they ultimately went with these two, Erica and Sabrina Crevens. And I think they did a really good job, actually. Like, as child actors go, they don't have great, some moments are better than others, but when they're spooky, they're on. It's really well done, I think.
They did a good job. If I recall, they don't have many credits to their name.
Do you think this is it?
So I'm not surprised. Yeah, we don't see much from these people ever again, but they served their purpose here. I don't think they were terrible. I don't think they were great. It was good, and they delivered.
Well, to that point, we don't see anybody who's involved with this episode again. The writers and the director are one-shot wonders. Written by Kenneth Biller and Chris Brancato, and is directed by this guy, Fred Gerber. And for all of them, this is their sole involvement with the X-Files. I guess like they didn't have a script ready when they were in production, and this freelance writing duo came to them and had this idea, and they're like, all right, we can do something with that.
Yeah, sure.
So they worked it up.
Which is very strange when you think about it, because obviously the X-Files is into historical moments playing a part in the show. So, you know, you've got Operation Paperclip and things like that. World War II and bringing Nazi scientists over and utilizing their abilities in later episodes. But for this to fit into that idea, that kind of wheelhouse, that's pretty nice. You know, for people who were just brought on for this one episode and are never heard from
again.
again.
It a lot, actually. I think a lot of people like this episode. So
yeah,
I find it interesting that they weren't tapped to do more. I mean, we don't know the untold story behind it. Maybe they had a horrible experience. Maybe Fred Gerber broke his ankle on it, and he's like, I'm never going to direct it for this show again. But for whatever reason, this is their only appearance.
Mulder and Scully are talking to Cindy's mom. She's downtrodden. Obviously, her husband has just died.
She was Daddy's little girl.
Is she an only child?
May I ask, was Cindy adopted?
No. I gave birth to her at San Rafael General.
So I assume you have all the proper documentation, birth certificate.
Of course I do.
Was she the only child delivered at that birth?
What the hell kind of question is that? Look, I have told the police everything I know.
Mrs. Reardon, have you ever seen this man before?
Is this your suspect? Did he do something to Cindy?
No, he.
No, Mrs. Reardon. This is not your daughter. That girl's name is Tina Simmons. She lives 3,000 miles away in Greenwich, Connecticut. That man, her father, was killed in the same manner as your husband.
Cindy is my daughter. I can show you videos of her birth. We tried for 6 years to become pregnant.
In vitro fertilization? At which clinic?
The Luther State Center down in San Francisco.
And she's making them coffee. I mean, how how hospitable do you have to be? And I mean, it's California. I gather they're not all nice there, but it's like, my husband died yesterday, but sure, let me make you some coffee.
Let me make you coffee, and let me answer questions about whether or not my daughter's adopted.
Yes, definitely not a winning impression.
Yeah, Scully kind of oversteps here, not because she's being rude or anything, but the mom does not like these questions about whether or not Cindy is her daughter. They show her a picture of Tina playing with her dad and asks if the mom has seen this man before, and she gets very concerned because it looks like her daughter. But they explain that this girl lives very far away from this house where your daughter is. So they discover here that they did use in vitro fertilization. And that is their new lead here.
On the coffee point, what did that scene look like when they're at the door? They've seen Cindy Reardon, and like clearly they know everything is messed up here. Like, what is going on here? But yet they still must have had that moment where it's like, oh, we're with the FBI. Oh, we got some questions. Okay, come on in. Would you like some coffee? Well, sure. But, meanwhile, Cindy Reardon is staring them in the face, and it's like, sure, I don't like cream in my coffee.
Right.
I think it could have just gone without the coffee scene, but I pick up on the weird things. I'm sorry. Let's move on.
Mulder's going to keep an eye out on the little girl. He sends Scully to the clinic to kind of find out the fertilization details here. And we cut to the clinic. The doctor's talking to Scully. She asks all the pertinent questions like, is it possible embryos were switched? Do you know this client? Scully keys in on Sally Kendrick, and the doctor, he gets kind of quiet.
Yeah, he wilts a bit there under that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice.
And we find out she was nothing but a problem. And we cut to a VHS tape of her, Sally Kendrick, talking to the camera about this program of in vitro or of genetic modification, right? Mm-hmm. We find out she was a resident. She was the first in her class, and she was a biogeneticist. But she was tampering with genetic material of fertilized ova in the lab prior to the implantation. She was experimenting with eugenics, which we all know is a...
Yeah, that's the bad thing you can do with biogenetics.
Yeah. So she was investigated and fired. Kendrick disappeared.
And no charges were laid in the end. She got away with it.
Mm-hmm. They couldn't find her.
It's like the government just covered it up.
Strange.
Not in this show.
So after he says Kendrick just disappeared, there is a nice cut that I like here where Scully looks back at the VHS tape screen. She looks back at the screen and it cuts to the screen, and then it does the pullback, and we're in a different spot. Mm-hmm. And she's informing Mulder now at the hotel about everything she learned at the clinic.
I forgot how seamless that was, actually. And they've tried that kind of trick before, and it hasn't always worked. It is good in this one, yeah.
Yeah. Scully believes she had an accomplice. She has to, in her opinion. And they get a phone call. Couple clicks.
I would like to point at this point where Scully says, oh, so you think it might not be UFO related, eh? It might not about UFOs anymore, eh? And he has that look on his face like, yeah, well, I guess not. And I think it's worth noting because it doesn't happen very often, Usually he's the one who drives the episode with his crazy theory at the beginning, but it's a nice little about face to it. It's like, no, Mulder, you were wrong. It was something else. Some other crazy X-File thing is about to come out, but it wasn't all about UFOs.
Quick backtrack. The doctor is George Touliatos, and he also appears in Blood.
Well, that's fitting.
Another Blood. Yeah.
So yeah, Scully is sitting there when there's a phone call, and she picks it up, and it's just a hang up. There's a couple clicks, but Mulder immediately picks up on it, right? He's like, oh, you know what? Here, Scully, why don't you go? And I like her little call of, are you ushering me out of the room or whatever? Are you getting me out of here? Or what? You got a girl coming over? It's a nice little interplay there. I liked it.
And we cut to the docks at night. and Deep Throat appears.
Are you certain she hasn't followed you?
Yes.
What are you doing here?
Thought we might take in a Warriors game. Actually, I was just in the neighborhood and wondered if I had ever told you about the Litchfield experiments.
No, you haven't.
Well, it was the most interesting project. Highest level of classification. All records have since been destroyed. And those who knew of it will deny knowledge of its existence. In the early 50s, during the height of the Cold War, we got wind that the Russians were fooling around with eugenics, rather primitively, I might add. Trying to crossbreed their top scientists, athletes, many things, to come up with a superior soldier. And naturally, we jumped on the bandwagon.
The Litchfield experiment.
A group of genetically controlled children were raised and monitored on a compound in Litchfield. The boys were called Adam, and the girls were called Eve. There's a woman you should see.
So, what is their system for
Clicking.
meeting up? Yes, but is it like 1 click meet by the docks, 14 clicks meet at the Astrodome? I mean, walk around and I'll find you. It probably is what it is, actually. You just take a walk. I got 30
maybe,
eyes on you.
Maybe,
Yeah.
since Scully picked up, or did she just say anything? Or no?
I think she said hello, but... you
Okay,
know.
well, maybe. He's like, well, I can't talk now.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
No, but in honesty, I don't know. But maybe Mulder rushed her out so he could call him back or something.
Oh, yeah.
That's
actually,
about the
I-
only explanation I would have for it.
I dig that. I do actually like my idea that they just, he's got so much surveillance that it's like, listen, just go for a walk.
You just go, I'll find you.
I'll find you. I'll have one of my informants, one of my 30 guys that are tailing you. He'll bring me to you.
So they talk about taking in a Warriors game as a joke.
I dig that, actually.
yeah.
It makes him quite likable.
It's nice. It's just, there is a chemistry here and a
Yeah.
friendship that's building, I think.
Do you think at this point they knew they were going to write him out at the end and they wanted to sort of make us like him a bit?
I don't know. Because initially he was just a one-off.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. Maybe they kept using him and they're like, well, we got to do something special with this guy. Let's put a hole in his chest.
Well, they bring him out a little bit, to my taste, a little bit more than they should. Like, there are a couple of episodes coming up where they bring him out.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, this didn't need... I know you had him contracted for 8 episodes or whatever.
It's weird, though, because it's like anytime he shows up, I'm just in a better mood.
Yeah, fair.
Even if the episode's terrible
It does
or if
make
he doesn't
the episode
belong
better
there.
with him being in it. But there's some cases where it's like, this is questionable. That is
Definitely.
part of the conspiracy. But okay, fine, he's here.
Deep Throat begins to kind of wax poetic. Did I ever tell you about the Litchfield experiments? And there is a woman that he wants Mulder to see. And we learn it is Eve 6. Dun dun dun. So Mulder and Scully go to an institute for the criminally insane.
So anytime I see Deep Throat, immediately I have to go and question what his end game is, like why he is actually getting Mulder to do the things that he's doing. And that dovetails nicely with the question, what do Mulder and Scully actually accomplish in the episode? So not to wrap it up too much, but in the end, we have Eve 8 being reunited with the other Eves and the Eve children. So the implication is that the project can continue. So is this Deep Throat's gambit that he is using Mulder, positioning some chess pieces so that he can coordinate all this to happen? Or is he just being a nice dude going to catch a ball game and it's like, hey, by the way, Litchfield, did I ever tell you? Discuss.
It's hard to say because I don't know if he's using Mulder to bring these two girls together to finally get all the Eves locked away? I mean, maybe that is the trade-off here. Maybe they couldn't locate them and they were waiting for them to make a move or something. But I honestly don't know that what an ulterior motive would be for Deep Throat here.
To my point earlier, like they bring him out a little bit more often than they need to. Like, I get he's developing a relationship with Mulder. He's like, I can be useful to you. Here's some information I can give you to help you. I buy that. But I feel like his character is just designed to have an ulterior motive. So, it's not all just because I can. Like, he puts himself at risk every time he does. So what does he get?
So I don't know that. I mean, yeah, he could probably do it a lot easier than getting Mulder involved. So we meet Crazy Eve 6 with her yellow teeth.
At the Whiting Institute for the Criminally Insane, which has got to be the worst place to work.
This place is horrifying. Mulder and Scully, they deposit their firearms and are equipped with panic buttons.
I love that part.
Oh my God.
Here's your ID and your panic button. Don't let her get too close to your eyes.
Yeah. The security guard informs her they keep the lights off because she screams bloody murder if they don't. So Scully uses a flashlight as they enter the room, and they find her in a corner, bound, and it's almost as if she knew they were coming for her.
Well, she is super smart.
Yeah. I guess you found what you were looking for. One of us, at least.
Point of order, Your Honor. The security guard who gives them the flashlights because she doesn't like having the lights on. This is actually a huge plot point, which again, look too hard and it all falls apart. But she says no one's ever got a really good look at her. And I feel like they inserted that line in there so that they could cover their asses for the plot, because it's like, come on. I mean, that's Kendrick right there,
Right. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. I didn't really think of it that deep.
Well, exactly. It's like,
I just thought it was strange. I'm like, how can you not know what this person looks like? You just gave her a flashlight. Use it.
Maybe she hides her face from anybody that's not super smart and works on the X-Files.
We get a weird interchange between Mulder, Scully, and Eve 6 here. She's very, very disturbed. She's got a major psychosis going on. She talks about she's locked away in this room because she paid too much attention to a guard and bit his eyeball. How? Is up for interpretation.
Yeah. And those teeth, man.
Yeah, those teeth.
That's just nasty. But everything about it is so creepy. It's so perfect.
It is. She does such a good job at being manic, and that the way she's very talkative and fast-paced, but it's kind of halting speech. It's very, very disturbing.
If she was not the centerpiece of this episode, I would hate it. But because she is so good, I overlook so much of the bad stuff in this episode. For me, it's the picture of all the kids in this scene. So, I don't mean to jump on your description of it, but that's the one part which I just got creeped out at.
No, you're good.
Unlock the chains. Then we'll talk.
They're probably there for a good reason.
No. Bad reason. I paid too much attention to a guard. Bit into his eyeball. I meant it as a sign of affection. Are you here to give me an IQ test by any chance? I think I can top 265. We're very bright, we Eves. It runs in the family.
Where are the others? The Adams and the Eves?
We're prone to suicide. All that's left is me. And Eve 7, she escaped early on. And Eve 8, she escaped 10 years later.
Are you Sally Kendrick?
That's not my name. But she is me and I am her, and we are all together.
Did you work for the Luther Stape Center for Reproductive Medicine in 1985?
In 1985? I'd been tied up like this for 2 years, and for what reason? No reason. I did nothing. I'm just me. They made me. But did they suffer? No, no. I suffer. I suffer. They keep me alive for the Litchfield Project. They come in, they test me, they poke me to see what went wrong.
She directs them to a photograph, and it is a bunch of Tinas.
All the Tinas.
Obviously photoshopped into one spot. So they determined that Sally was carrying on the Litchfield experiment to clone herself.
Yeah, it's super creepy.
Scary.
I like that in that moment,
It
you
is
know
fucked
what's
up.
going on, because it's showing you the problem in a nutshell, as opposed to her just saying, and they made 10 of us, it's really well done.
Yeah. And then we cut to Cindy praying. She's going to bed. Her mom tucks her in. And Mulder and Scully are now outside the house watching. Scully, not so subtly, using binoculars to peer in on this little girl through her window.
It's called surveillance, not voyeurism. And a warrant, probably. Yeah, I don't know. She's FBI. She can do whatever she wants. She can spy on kids.
Mulder kind of quips here that she does have an accomplice herself. Scully says something here that I keyed in on. I don't know if you did, but it was kind of like a half red herring where she's like, before you said that, I was beginning to suspect the girls.
Right there on my screen. I wrote that down too.
Yep.
I liked it as a wonderful job of misdirecting our suspicion away from the kids. Yeah, it was great.
Because we were all going there, and then it's like, oh, well.
Yeah, but now we've got these alternate suspects. Good.
And as Scully is looking in through her binoculars, she sees Cindy get taken. They pursue. Scully is knocked down inside the house.
Of course she is.
And of course, yes, Mulder catches her outside with Cindy. The Eve, I should say, is kidnapping Cindy, and she forces Mulder to drop his gun. She has her own. She bolts, and she fires at Mulder to keep his distance, and she speeds off in a car.
Super lucky for Scully to see that abduction, eh?
Yeah.
I gotta say, we
Very
just put
lucky.
a hummingbird feeder up in the backyard. I look at it a lot. I have not seen a hummingbird. So I think Scully just saw a hummingbird.
Look, she just got lucky.
She got lucky.
Flashes forward, and the police are there. Scully is giving police a description of Sally Kendrick. Mulder's consoling the mom.
Bet your mom was making them all coffee, too.
Do you guys like Folgers? 1 lump or 2.
Let me get some Sanka.
I've just lost my husband and my daughter.
Coffee for everyone.
I hope you like decaf.
Oh.
So we cut to Point Reyes Seashore. The Eve that has kidnapped Cindy pulls up to a motel. She brings Cindy in and introduces her to Tina. So now they are together.
You just knew when you saw that guy raking out in front of the motel. I mean, I don't know about you, but when I saw him, I'm like, oh, he's going to tattle.
Well, hold on, because I have something about that.
Oh, was he in another episode?
No.
Is he in like 6 other X-Files episodes?
No.
Gardner number 2.
We're right there, so I'll just say it.
Okay.
He apparently informs the cops that this lady left late one night, or the night before, and arrives now, which is, let's say 10 in the morning, because it's early, the sun's up, with a child. So I get that motel managers sit at a desk all day, but this guy is probably being very, very creepy, because in order for him to know for a fact that she left at night, never came back, and was never around any kids until she came back that morning, it's like, what are you doing? Like, how do you know all this information? And just go do your job. Do something.
Okay. I'm going to give our motel manager a little backstory that helps explain this for you, Mike. I think his name is Merv. So that he can be motel manager Merv.
All right.
Merv used to be a cop in Los Angeles.
I like it.
And he had a very keen sense of observation. You just can't turn it off. So he inherited this hotel from his uncle, who ran it for 30 years. And he didn't like it, but he decided, you know what, family business, and it's a lot easier than busting those scumbags in LA. So he took it over, but he's got a penchant for keeping tabs on people, for their own safety. Yeah, he keeps an eye out. So he's got some written files in addition to his statement. He's like, got his notepad and he's looking at, with the pages. And he shows them on page 17 where woman in suite 7 departed at 10:15. And then woman in suite 7, I had to turn the page, arrived the next morning at 10 with little girl in tow. And that little girl was already in there. So if you aren't telling me, that's weird. And what's weirder, Merv reports this whole chlorine thing you've got to put in the pool. So God bless Merv. He advanced the plot significantly.
He did.
Canonically, he will always be called Merv.
Merv the motel manager. I saw her leave. She didn't have a kid. She came back. She had a kid.
Yep.
Have I told you about the chlorine? All right. So yes, the Eves introduce each other to each other. Eve.
Are they wearing red at this point?
I don't know. Are they? I don't remember.
They certainly I think the next scene where they're enjoying their fast food meal, I think they are all
red.
The reds. At some point, they do a costume change into that. What is it with the X-Files and red jackets, right? But they're wearing the most readiest red outfit ever. But it's like, if they're not evil kids, like they're now wearing evil.
Right. So after they introduce all the Eves to each other, it cuts back to Mulder and Scully with police. Scully believes there's a possibility of them being on flights, and she directs the female officer to check and look for outgoing flights. Is that correct?
I think it is, yeah.
I'm pretty positive. Yeah. Mulder, however, got a call from them that the motel in Port Reyes has a car and description of the patron that matches Sally. And then enter my complaint about this guy.
Merv, you mean?
Because Merv, yes. I found these women. She had kids that look alike, but they weren't the same.
I believe I have explained this plot point.
So back with the Eves. It does a lot of cutting here.
It does.
Mulder and Scully will arrive shortly, but back with the Eves, Sally's talking to the girls. She's telling them she was trying to correct the flaws in the Litchfield experiments, and she was disheartened to learn that the kids had an accelerated psychosis. They all normally had it or developed it later on, but the kids were developing quicker.
Yeah, what's wrong with you kids? Jeez, can't you be normal like me?
And here we get the information that the girls just knew of each other.
That.
They just knew it.
I hate that particular plot point because it's like
it's
knew. Like
that's the writer who can't connect the dots.
Yes, that's exactly it. It's the writer who just ran out of ideas. It's like, let's be spooky.
They just knew.
Yeah.
But they say it's spooky, so we just kind of write it off, right?
Well, and they say it at the same time, Mike. So yeah. I mean, come on. They're clearly telepathetic. So
yeah, and they also knew that they weren't born, that they were created.
Mm-hmm. Which is why they had to kill their fathers.
Right. We learn that Sally has taken them to help them. She wants to get them into a program that will help their psychosis and put them on long-term medication, and they can lead full productive lives, apparently. And then something happens. She starts shaking profusely.
Talk about biting the hand that feeds you.
Right. Something's wrong. The girls, they do their evil James Bond villain
monologue
info dump here. Yeah, the monologue. It's foxglove from a digitalis plant we used to poison you. We grow it. They poison Sally and she goes down.
Oh, but not before making a pretty vicious threat. I'm going to correct that mistake. Drawing the knife, but apparently not fast enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not fast enough. Mulder and Scully arrive. They hear glass breaking and they rush in and they find Sally dead. The girls are playing innocent and they're huddled in the corner. They say that Sally tried to get them to play a game. And so they're already plotting their escape here. No one will ever
So
suspect us.
I remember the first time I watched this episode way back. I was out of the room when we had the reveal of them poisoning Sally, and I came back in with the girls huddled in the corner. So I missed that whole bit. And so the next scene where we'll get into it, but essentially I was like, oh, damn. And I then had to reveal then, right? But of course, at this point, you know, the kids are evil. And so you have that knowledge with you for the next scene. But yeah, it makes it very different. Let me just tell you that.
Yeah. So yeah, they're already trying to plot their escape by blaming Sally, saying she wanted them all to drink poison. So far, so successful, right? You know, Mulder and Scully do not suspect these two girls at all. Their initial idea is that Sally was to blame for everything, and now she's dead. And it is here that they key in on the sweet flavor of the poison, and that it's probably not even detectable in the soda. Ooh. So that's a throwaway line, right?
Well, they do that at least 3 more times to lay it down for you exactly how this is going to run.
This is sweet. Yeah. This is sweet.
Taste syrupy. You wouldn't even taste it because it's in soda.
Right. Oh. We get
it. Yeah, like this. It's a bit heavy, but even so, I dig this last scene because it's pretty well done.
Yeah, definitely. But before that, we get another character actor, Gordon Tipple. He's another veteran of the show.
Yeah, he's the last detective that comes in there. Yeah, he has like one line, "We'll do it" or something. Yeah.
His most notable performance is as Hepcat in Humbug.
Yes.
So yeah, he's in I think 4 episodes. I think something like that, 3 or 4. But yeah, that's him. Mulder tells him that they will take the kids to watch them while the police look for the suspect that the girls told them existed, but doesn't exist. They put them in the car. Mulder and Scully make a late night pit stop so the girls can use the bathroom. We're doing a little bit of a time jump here because it's a pretty quick scene from morning to night.
So where are they driving? Because they're in California at this point, right? And they're driving back to Connecticut? Is that the...
I guess. Or D.C. or something.
California is a big state. Maybe they got to go up to San Diego or something.
Yeah. I did think that the cop let them have the girls a little too easily.
Yeah.
He's like, whatever.
I think he's like, paperwork? Fine. Sure. Go for it.
Jesus.
If it ain't a murder, I'm not solving it.
So yeah, Mulder and Scully make a pit stop at a truck joint on the highway.
Worth noting, though, that stop was prompted by the kids and their little hand grasp. Mm-hmm. Like they're sharing a moment of now is the time.
Now.
And I suspect that they knew that there was a diner coming up and that this is the point where we can...
They have big brains. They know all Route 66.
That's right.
Mulder orders 4 sodas, and the girls, in a really creepy way, ask for a regular. They distract Scully, and one of the Eves leaves to take the soda while they're using the bathroom. The others are using the bathroom.
Yeah.
And she poisons the sodas right there in front of everyone.
Quick question, and I know you have a problem with that. I do too, but quick question.
No, you're fine.
Do you call them sodas in the States? Like just a generic term?
Pop. I say
you
pop.
Say pop.
But it's really whatever. There's this huge thing where if you're north, you call it one thing, south is another. Everything south, or everything in the south is Coke.
Yeah.
Do you want a Sprite Coke? Do you want a Coke? I'm not even kidding. Like, apparently it's an epidemic. Okay. I don't know. I like when they drop cola as... Oh, okay.
I'll have a Popsy, please.
One of the little girls is poisoning the Pops. Mm-hmm. Mulder and Scully's, to be specific. Mulder shows up, takes a sip of his. Ooh, sweet. Mm.
Yeah, exactly. This is the 4th bomb they've dropped that they're in danger.
Oh, man. Everyone gets ready to leave. He lets the little girl pay for the sodas. And they all walk out. Everyone's got their soda. And Scully takes a sip. What's the line?
Ooh, sweet.
Therapy. So just in case you weren't following, it's sugary.
Yeah,
right?
they're dead. They're dead FBI agents just about to happen here.
As they're leaving, Mulder realizes he forgot his keys. He rushes back in, grabs his keys off the counter, and as he's leaving, he notices a green substance on the table nearest to the counter.
Kid can't even poison, right?
In a madman way only Mulder would do, he licks the substance off of his finger.
Oh.
Because that's what you do if you find a green
Yeah,
substance.
turns out that's a big booger. That's terrible. I was wrong. You're fine, kids.
But it's sweet, and he rushes out. I like this scene because he knows he has to get to Scully fast, but he's really trying to be cool in front of these kids, so they're not like hip to him. He rushes out the door. He kind of stops and he yells her name, Scully, to get her attention off of whatever she's doing. Just walks up to her, just wanted to get the door for it, and he knocks the pop out of her hand.
Yeah, if it was casual before, not anymore.
It's actually really, I like it. It's a good scene. There is that little bit of tension. You know, obviously, as viewers, we know they're not going to kill off our agents, but still, that's fun. The kids realize they're stuck here, so they run.
And if we haven't had enough little plot bombs to make sure we know the danger they were in, now we get a little bomb so that we know the danger they're not in. We didn't drink enough to be sick or whatever.
That's got to be a last minute rewrite.
Yeah, totally.
Someone needs to say this, otherwise the viewers are gonna think our agents are gonna die at any second. We didn't drink enough.
If they just dropped all those little nuggets, I think it would have been better. It's like the audience is not as dumb as you think they are, you know?
Right.
Or maybe they are. I don't know.
So yeah. The girls have run off. Mulder and Scully go look for them. We get a nice shot of Scully through a bunch of tubes. It's an interesting shot.
It is.
I like it.
Well, this is what's his name? Gerber. This is our director's one shot at making a splash. So through the tubes, he's going to shoot it.
Mulder catches a glimpse of them running, and he lays a plan out and flanks them, grabs them both, and they start screaming bloody murder. And Mr. Do-Gooder and his wife jump out of their semi and hold Mulder hostage.
Hey, how do you know?
Because he thinks he's a terrible person.
How do you know she's his wife?
Okay, a prostitute. I was trying to be nice, but whatever.
Could be friends, you know? No? Okay, definitely had something going on.
There are blowjays happening in that cab.
Well, proving that...
If you're at a truck stop and you jump out of a truck, things have happened.
Listen, kids, shut the hell up. I am trying to get my groove on, and I will shoot each one of you and your dad if you don't shut the F up right now. Take your screaming back to the diner where it belongs.
They managed to get the girls away from Mulder and Scully, who are identifying themselves as the police.
Mm-hmm. Oh, he feels bad now.
And the girls take this opportunity of confusion to run away again. And for some reason, they go inside the diner, or at least Scully does, and asks if they saw a little girl or little girls.
I would love it if he just shot the ceiling. I need everyone's attention.
Has anyone seen two little girls?
Don't drink anything they buy you.
They're very, very red. If you guys didn't notice, the pop is syrupy. At least mine was, and it was supposed to be diet. I'm writing a Yelp review.
And young lady at the cash, I'm going to need a refresh on 2 of those regular sodas. They spilled them.
Yeah. I spilled one. But yeah, they point Mulder and Scully to a bus that just left apparently in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
With a bunch of school children on it. So the scene is played from here that Mulder and Scully go looking for the bus. They leave. We see the car leave the parking lot, and the camera kind of pans over and down next to a boat. And there is a boat with like a tarp. And the girls, of course, once the car leaves, climb out of the tarp. And once they're out, who shows up but Mulder to capture them? So they played a little joke on the
double
girls
bluff
because they realized how smart they were, that they wouldn't be so obvious as to leave on a midnight school bus of children from a truck stop.
I would have loved another Good Samaritan to come out with a shotgun to say, hey, let go of them girls.
Hey, don't touch my boat.
Yeah, what are you doing to my boat, you perv?
Stay away from my boat.
Yeah, double bluff. I mean, this is the first of a couple of bait and switches. Didn't love it, but I get it. They needed to wrap it up. We've had this scene extend for quite some time, so we got to start wrapping things up here.
Yeah, and they go, we're just little girls. That's the last thing you are.
Oh, ho, ho.
And then it fades. It's back at the Reardon home. We get the mom move on of the century here.
Hey, she's entitled to be bitter, okay?
She's not bitter. She's like, thank sweet Jesus, I get to start over. Where's the club?
Hey, do you know what it was like raising Cindy? She was a monster.
She was a monster, literally.
And she had those damn plants. She was always tending to her
She
plants.
was always standing over me with a large bore needle.
That's a point they never address once. It's like how the kids actually managed to pull off the exsanguination. Like, what tools did they use for that?
Just a metal straw.
Yeah, just metal straws.
So it cuts to the Reardon home, and ultimately Mrs. Reardon is okay that Cindy is not her daughter anymore because she has been informed by Mulder and Scully that she was the product of genetic engineering and a clone of a mad scientist. And in a show of immediate moving on, she takes a picture of her husband, her late husband, and Cindy, and tears Cindy out of the picture and burns it.
And then she burns down the house. Yeah.
This lady is ready to go nuts.
And then she offers them some coffee, though, because she's not without manners.
No. Can I get you guys some coffee? Because my life just got a whole lot lighter. I got nothing to do anymore.
Oh, she had a little cream to that coffee right there.
So after that, we get a short scene in the insane asylum. The little girls have been reunited with the other Eves.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we just knew. That's the last line of the episode.
Well, the big reveal, of course, is that the original Eve 8, I'm assuming the original Sarah, Kendrick walks in and it's like, how did you put this all together? How did you make this happen? And there's a definite implication. They're gonna keep on going with this program. They're gonna sort you all out. But
yeah. And from there we go to Bosham, England. Whoa, no, excuse me, that's the next episode.
Yeah, we're doing a 3-parter tonight. Ugh.
You got some bad accents there.
Don't blow it, Mike. You got to save it all up.
No, I know. All right. So that's the episode.
All right. I think it is. I think I even said it before. I dislike a lot of things about this episode, but because of Harriet Harris, standout for me. She alone carries it up out of the tangle of plot threads and dumped plot nuggets to, make sure you got it. And I think it's a real shame that they never brought back to this particular thing because they have come back to other plots that they have started and sort of extended them. Like Pusher is a good example. Tombs is a good example. I don't know why they didn't come back to this one because they left the door wide open. Yeah. So yeah, generally dislike a lot of it, but for Harriet Harris, I'm pleased to watch it again. And yeah, it's great.
Cool. I've never been a huge fan of the episode. I do like it. It's just not as strong as obvious other episodes. But once we're talking about it, all the ugly blemishes kind of come out to play. And I think that's good though, because you can look at things with different eyes and maybe pick up on something that you didn't before. And with that, I think we have picked up on some of the looser plot threads, some of the things that could have been done differently, and the wand waving of, oh, well, we just knew of each other's existence, and we just knew we were going to exsanguinate our fathers at the same time. Like it's cool and creepy, but
yeah,
they never give the explanation as to how they could possibly know this, or that the other person would exist they give them that psychosis of they're really nuts, but there has to be like an element of telepathy there that they never go into, at least in my head. So, I mean, that's probably a glaring example of they're not trying quite as hard in the writer's room for this one.
Well, and if they were telepathic, they could have done a whole lot more interesting things with it. Like the chase sequence at the end, there could have been a whole cat and mouse thing of like them using their innate knowledge of each other and their own positions to sort of fool Mulder and Scully as to where they were. Like, I feel like they probably should have gotten away in the end. I know it's satisfying to wrap it up with them being apprehended because so often Mulder and Scully do not get to do that. You know, they do not get to win in the end. But, and that is a complaint I've had in other episodes, is that they don't actually accomplish anything. So in this one, full marks, you know, they solve the mystery.
Yeah.
But,
and I mean, really, I mean, how often do you get to lock up a couple of kids? I mean, that's like once in a lifetime.
That's one for the memoirs, you know?
See ya. But yeah, I mean, it's a fun episode. It's never been, like I said, one of my favorites, but enjoyable.
Very. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff I like in it. Give me Harriet Harris anytime.
Yeah, she's amazing. I think this is the moment. Fade up the exit music here. Thank you all for being with us tonight. That was the episode Eve. And if you would like to say goodbye, please do so.
Good evening.
Evening. Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you liked what you heard, please rate and review on your podcast app of choice. Andrew and I would be eternally grateful to you fine people for helping us expand and get the word out. Also, we've got a killer group on Facebook. Feel free to join in on the discussion at facebook.com/groups/thisisnothappeningpod and become an official member of the syndicate. We do polls and we have questions for every episode to give you guys the opportunity to chime in and possibly let your voice be heard on our recordings. And please join us on our new Twitter at tinhxfilespod, no dash, to stay up to date on everything, moment to moment. Thank you, and remember, don't stop swimming. It's that time, everyone, the Magus Media Production sales pitch. Please check out our homepage at magusmediaproductions.net so you can stay up to date on all of our shows. Check out our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/magusmediaproductions, both of which have our Discord link on it, where you can join us for live shows as we record them for future release. At Magus Media Prods on X, our Patreon, patreon.com/magusmedia, where a $5 donation will help us keep the lights on and bringing you new content, and you get some stickers. Thank you for your consideration and support.